I think when I speak, the spotlight should be on me because clearly I'm an egomaniac. And the PowerPoint takes it away, takes your eyes away from me, which hurts my soul. But Fabian made the PowerPoint, he's not here, I'm just filling in. So pardon all the glitches and flaws. Even more, okay, there we go. So, what are we? We are an intelligently crowdsourced media platform providing analysis of global issues for educated professionals. Hooah, that was a mouthful. Let me put it very simply. Very, very simply, what we are trying to do. What we are trying to do is very simply, when you want to read about the world today, you have very few credible sources. You tend to go to the New York Times if you vote Democrat. You tend to go to the Wall Street Journal if you vote Republican. If you're less educated, you have Fox News and MSNBC. If you pretend to be cosmopolitan, then you read The Economist. Or at least you keep it on your coffee table to show that you're educated. You never get through the voluminous, weekly that they send it out to you. But it's still, it's a showcase. Look at me, I'm smart, I'm educated, I read The Economist, established in 1843, and I remember Queen Victoria's coronation. So, what we intend to be is very simply this. We intend to be an alternative to The Economist, wherein analysis does not just come from people from Oxford and Cambridge, one of which is my alma mater, but analysis comes from people from around the world and people from many disciplines, so that what you get is a truly global discourse. And that's it, and that's what we stand for. Moving on. How does it work? Which one? Right. All right, well, this is Fabian. So, what is the market opportunity? There is a demand for better information from people who are educated, worldly, and curious. All right? At least we hope so. We presume all of you sitting here want better information. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to drink your fine Cabernet Sauvignon and go home. But we presume that all of you educated professionals living in a more global era, wherein there is heightened uncertainty, whether it is the Arab uprising, or whether it is the turbulence in the European economy, where the fluttering of a butterfly creates tornadoes across the world. By that I mean Greece, which is a butterfly. It is worse than a butterfly. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, they live off the nostalgia for Sophocles and Plato. But the point is, a Greek economic crisis is creating palpitations in German hearts, which in turn is creating aftershocks in Chinese, hearts, and which in turn is giving a headache to the US presidential election, for Obama, of course, not for Romney. But the point is, a small country is creating fundamental changes to the way things operate in your daily lives, where you work for, what you buy, how much you pay, etc., etc., etc. And we think, therefore, The Economist, which is the one publication with global reach and global coverage, has doubled its print circulation over the last 10 years. And that is the reason why, because they are the one quality publication and they hold the banner afloat at a time when other ships are sinking. Okay, what happened? Okay, good. Ship is sinking. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we think that's market opportunity phenomenon one. Phenomenon two is, whilst that is happening, you also have a supply of knowledge from people with expertise wanting to share insights. And that's increasing. And the example is, look at 22 million articles on Wikipedia so far. It's put Encyclopedia Britannica out of business. And the quality ain't that bad. Actually, for many things, theoretical mathematics, if you want to read about the Reidemeister move, all right, don't look at me as if I know much about mathematics. I'm an IIT reject. I never got into Indian Institute of Technology. I'm not as smart as Guido. I went and fluffed around and studied philosophy, politics at Oxford, which is what rejects who can't study mathematics and physics do. And then we go into politics eventually later in life and run for office and tell you how to run the world when we don't know how to run our lives. Anyway, the point is, 22 million articles have been created on Wikipedia, and if you wanted to read about the Reidemeister move, or Reidemeister knot, or whatever it is, I'm forgetting. I have a friend who's a pure mathematician. But the point is, if you go there, it is a pretty accurate summary of what you want. And so there are people around the world, the mathematicians, the pediatricians, the ex-diplomats, the ex-journalists, the ex-CIA people, the professors, the young, ambitious graduate students who want to share knowledge. And they want a platform. So, and now you have technology that makes it easy to match demand and supply. You have broadband penetration that has grown from 21% to 95% in the US, and it is growing in the rest of the world. And this is, we are not even talking about mobile now, and the new devices called fancy tablets, you know, the iPad. And of course, Google is coming up with stuff now that they've bought Motorola and whatnot. So you have a whole transformation in matching demand and supply due to technology taking place at a unique change point in not just history, but the entire consumption and production of human knowledge. That wasn't very clear. That was badly formulated. Apologies. Okay. So what do you see? Demand is served inadequately. What is happening? We put up MSNBC and Fox News, two of our favorite channels, but just to show we are cosmopolitan, we also put up NDTV, which is the Indian tabloid, run by people who are kids of big bureaucrats and corrupt politicians. And of course you have the Huffington Post, which is Ariana's rule of the world. So we think that has three problems. One, it is ethnocentric. And by that I mean, is regardless of where you live, the Italian 16th century model of the newspaper, wherein your polis, your city defined your worldview, and you looked out into the world and talked about the rest of the world, still holds. If you're born Brazilian and you're born in Sao Paulo and you read a Sao Paulo newspaper, you have a Brazilian correspondent who goes to the Middle East and says, hey, both these people actually wear funny hats. Both of them like getting circumcised. I don't know why. Both of them don't eat pork. Both of them share the same prophets. But I don't get it. Why are they fighting when they have pretty beaches and they are not? And why is it that they are not having bikinis and sex on the beach? And that, fundamentally, is worldwide. Now, of course, the Indian puritanical media would have a different spin on it. Oh, look at it. This is reflective of apartheid or whatever, and then you have the US media which is going to have a different spin on it, but wherever you're born, your worldview is from the outside looking in. And we think that should change because you can look in from the out, you don't have to be from the outside looking in. You can have the inside looking out and you can have a more cosmopolitan global perspective. Second thing, sensationalism. I don't even need to tell you how sensationalist things are, especially since I'm giving the presentation. I'm pretty sensationalist. You know, that is an evil in the media. Look at me. Then the third thing is lacking analysis. There is a lack of analysis wherein people want to tell you what is happening. They want to tell you what is happening every nanosecond. Now you have Twitter. Now I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down on an orange chair and a black back. There is this strange man in a green striped shirt and cufflinks which are shaped as bullets speaking. Now this might be a tweet going out. But the point is, you have a fixation with what's going on right here, right now, and no one is asking, why is something happening? What is the context of the past? What might be the implication for the future? So that we think is a problem. Now we look at these classic newspapers, which are fantastic actually. I love the BBC. I am not so much in love with the CNN. I really like Al Jazeera. I think some of the work of the New York Times is good. But the point is, repeated media is also ethnocentric. And in a global world, it is increasingly incomplete and suboptimal. It does not have the same grasp over fast-changing, shifting global sands and global reality in the way, let's say, someone who was a foreign reporter did 20 years ago. And it lacks context. By context, I mean if you're going to read about Israel and Palestine, you might as well know what is the 1917 Balfour Declaration. I was in Stanford, your alma mater, and I asked folks, do you know about the 1917 Balfour Declaration? A lot of undergrads, and a grand total of 0 raised their hand. And this is just to point out, I'm not singling Stanford. I asked a similar question in Harvard. This was about something else, about, I presume, 1953 coup in Iran, and 0 students raised their hands. I think I might have switched the examples, but the point is, even in the top universities in the world, people are trained so narrowly that they don't have context. So you've got to understand the world, you need context. And so as a fuddy-duddy old world intellectual, trained classically and beaten constantly by my mother through growing up, I realized that Fair Observer had to offer 3 things. It had to offer plurality. And that is intrinsic to us, given the composition of our team, given the way Fabian and I grew up. I as an army brat, moving every 2-3 years. Fabian as a diplomat brat, moving every 2-3 years, seeing new cultures, new languages, new narratives. And we realized everyone has blind sides. And when we put 5 of us together, perhaps, hopefully, we'll have less of a blind side. And that is the advantage of plurality. Analysis, I don't need to underscore how important that is. Context, I've already alluded to. So that is what we offer. And we offer that through crowdsourcing, a bit like Wikipedia. So that is our USP. We move on. What is our business model? So our content generation, we already have a global pool of writers and editors. We have actually over 300 of them from over 30 countries, and they include former prime ministers. We also have very bright prodigies who are just first years in university, so we span the gamut. The only thing we judge for is the quality of content. The per capita costs for us are 90% lower than The Economist because it's not staff writers. And it's sustainable because we've created an influential community around ourselves. People want to help the world. There's the altruistic motive. And of course, there's vanity and exposure. Some of us who are ugly and balding and can't do fashion have to live off the egos of being clever. We want to prove we are clever.
But we're not clever.
I didn't say that. Methinks the lady protests too much. Okay. Moving on. Distribution.
Too clever.
The distribution is through the community, contributors, readers, and partners. And if you have a contributor, there's a natural element of virality built in because a contributor who writes wants to share their article, and that helps us in marketing. Similarly, we are creating a new platform which will enable...
Very nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll try to be less violent. We are trying to have a new website which makes sharing of content and participating on the website very easy, wherein you can set the agenda and say, this is an issue which I like covered. This is not being covered. This is important. This is why. And we want an analysis of it now. And of course, we have partners that include Knowledge at Wharton, the Belfer Center at Harvard, all the elitist big names Sarah Palin hates. You know, pesky immigrant like me with elitism background, not even born in this country, intruding upon and changing the discourse. Terrible idea. But that's exactly what we are doing. Anyway, and now revenues. So, yeah, exactly. Revenues, sponsoring and subscription. We think that is a good model. Economy is doing it. The European Financial Review is doing it. We think once we have more quality content, we can have subscription. It is self-indicated. We've already said we believe readers want plurality, analysis, and context. We think a big monetization engine for us could be syndication. We already are in talks with some newspapers. Some newspapers are publishing an entire editorial page with our content. And we think that could be a quick win. And that is sustainable because the cost pressures of having a foreign correspondent are too high. And so, but at the same time, a lot is going on in the world. So you do want international coverage. And there is increased demand for cheaper global content. But you can't get it. And that is what we are offering. So those are two streams. Obviously, as we build the brand, there are many ways to skin a cat, and we will skin the cat in many ways. So there will be multiple revenue streams. This is the live beta version. As you can see, it will improve considerably, but that is an exclusive interview with the German Minister of Economics. I've already told you about 300 contributors. We've been featured by some press folks, largely because of entertainment value that I provide by saying politically incorrect things, lambasting both the Democrats and the Republicans, lest I be accused of prejudice. I'm a foreigner, no states in any political, who is far more efficient than me, who's not here. That's me, I'm the editor-in-chief. We have other folks, we have an MD, PhD on the team. Our advisors include John Bruton, who started the Northern Irish peace process and was Prime Minister of England. Donald Marin, who was advisor to President Bush, economic advisor. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Any questions, please?
No, one question, please.